picking for you. I wanted to explore a little bit the sound of using a capo because some people aren't that familiar with capos. If you're a songwriter in the Americana tradition, you probably are. If you're a singer, primarily too, because part of the function of a capo is to move a song to a key that's comfortable for our individual voice, whatever that may be, and not sacrifice the first position chords that sound so great in especially in acoustic playing, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's blues, something about using a capo that adds kind of, for me anyway, a kind of a chiminess to the guitar. And then of course, like I said, there's the straight out function of being able to sing in a different key, maybe more appropriately, or if you're accompanying a female singer, she may maybe want to do something in the key of C, which generally is a good voice for female vocals. It just depends on what you're doing and who you're doing it with. But it also has a sort of a sound on its own. And I'll give you an example of that because, if I'm playing without a capo, it's going to sound cool, like in G, right? It's G. See, but check it out when I capo up, just for the sonic value of what happens when I pop the capo on the 5th fret, and now I'm playing in the key of C. There's your root note, right? But I'm playing the same chords, same shapes, and so It's not like you have to reinvent the whole shape, like the cage system, when you're moving up and down the neck, which is fine and important and necessary at times, especially on electric guitar. But with acoustic, we have the luxury of capoing up and getting a somewhat different sound, aside from the fact that it works with vocal, key changes and stuff. Okay, so check it out now. I'll play basically the same. So that's I'm at an example of how the sound changes. It sounds different, right? Because obviously in a different key, but also moving everything up is as if you've moved the nut of the guitar all the way up to the 5th fret, and you're playing a higher tuned guitar, and you get to use those great open strings. So I'm going to show you a little move that I do. In this case, we're going to land in the key of C because we're capoed up, and you'll get to that later. But if you're interested in this kind of thing, I give a bunch of courses at jimmydillon.com. Solo of acoustic guitar, where we cover a lot of this kind of stuff. But in the meantime, this is a song that has a cool little. Or you could just do it, if you want to do it with a pick, you can. Let's see. Off of is, so here's the C note in the G form. We'll call it a G chord because that's what it is, shape wise. And I'm just going from here to the 2nd fret on the A string with my 2nd finger, and then I'm hitting that open D string. You kind of get a little. See if we got this. In this case, I just started doing a rake, what I call a rake, where you go splatterly do. And this is just one, I'm using a pick now. So this is really an example of what you can do by moving a capo up and down the neck. Not so much a verbatim lesson on how to do this lick, although it's kind of cool. Fair enough, that's pretty cool. Second lick is, so it's 3, 2, open A, G, slowly. G. So now you got two licks you're doing with the capo. One is now if you add a little easy strum to that, you know. So I was adding a little rake to it. I was going. Optional, the rake. You could just do it straight. But more importantly than just the actual lick itself is the approach, which is, you know, again, using a capo. You know, when you move the capo around, it gets such a different sound. Like I saw Lyle Lovett. God, he was, where was he? He was way up here, I think, if I'm remembering right, you know. So it has its own sound, doesn't it? Almost like a mandolin. Because we rarely played this high on acoustic. I mean, you might if you're playing leads or something, but it's hard to chord up that high. But if you got a capo there, you can get into, you know, higher than you would normally be. Get that right. One thing when you capo, sometimes you want to get close to the fret that you're capoing to. Get it right behind the fret. See, now it's not fretting out. Pretty good. Got to find that sweet spot right behind the fret, almost on it. That's going to sound better because if I take it off, sometimes it doesn't sound right. It frets out. So by making it right up close to the fret, I'm getting a truer sound. So there's a couple little moves that you can use in your acoustic playing, utilizing a capo. You know, whether you want to, you know, wherever you want to go with it, it's going to change the sound. You go to the second fret. It's pretty cool. I'll leave you this one cool thing that I learned along the way. So I took my capo and I turn it upside down, and then what I do is I go ahead and let's see, how do I do this? Is this it? No. What I do is I go to the second fret of the guitar, and I do it upside down. So what I've got the capo on the high 5 strings, and then the open E is ringing out. Let's get it down just a little bit. There it is. Kind of tricky, huh? But what's cool about this is I can now I have an open E string, so it sounds like drop D. Nice, huh? That you normally play your D, but up to, obviously. It's a second position E chord. But isn't that cool? And you can let that E note ring out. Which is essentially the same thing as if you were in drop D. You get that sound, right? So you're basically getting that same drop D sound, but in the key of E, which might be handy, you know, depending on what, if you're better singing in E or whatever. So anyway, that's my capo lesson for the day. I probably rambled on too long, but wherever you are, hope you're playing guitar, having a great summer, and hit me up at chimeydillon.com. Love to hear from you anytime, requests, whatever you got, and we'll see you down the road.